Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome along to our Correcting Journals webinar. So this is part of the digital badge series for corrections that we've been running this month. We will be repeating it next month as well, just in case you haven't had a chance to attend session 1 or 2, or maybe you can't make it along to Matt's session on VAT corrections or even the quiz. So you do have that opportunity next month as well, just to top it up if you need it for the badge. So welcome along. Session should last around about 45 minutes. Now, just before we get stuck into the webinar, just in case anyone is fairly new to webinar, we'll run you through a little bit of housekeeping. So as usual, you don't need a microphone for this session. If you've got one, it will be muted automatically. You can't unmute yourself during the session. Similarly, to submit any questions on the toolbar, you should have an option, looks like a question mark inside a speech bubble. Give it a click, it should expand the panel. You get access to the questions panel bottom right hand corner. So any questions or comments you have during the session today, pop them in there. Remember to click send. We'll try our best to pick those up. We're joined today by Abby as well. Abby will be in the background supporting me with answering those questions. So do keep them coming, keep her busy. And if anyone wants a copy of today's slides, those are available to download via the handout icon. Now, as normal, just in case maybe fairly new to accounting or fairly new to Sage, sometimes you'll find the webinars quite quick. Others, you might find them quite slow, depending on your level of knowledge and your experience. So if you do find them quite quick, don't worry, as you will receive a follow-up email. The follow-up email will include a link to today's recording. So you'll get that email round about an hour after we finish. Just watch out for that one. So if you want a bit of a recap or you want to share it with your colleagues, you'll be able to do that. It will also include a link to so you can register for our upcoming webinars. Our timetable now runs up to the end of January. And also there will be a link to our recordings page as well. So if you've missed any sessions, or maybe you're just trying to develop your knowledge, or maybe as a company you want to start using a new area of Sage 50 accounts, then obviously have a look at the recordings page because there's loads available. Right, let's have a look at what we're covering for the digital badge series first of all. So we're running 4 different topics. So Laura's already covered customer and suppliers. Abby runs through bank payments, receipts and transfers. Today it's my turn, journals, and then Matt will take you through the impact of corrections with regard to the VAT side of things. We end this series with a quiz. But again, these sessions are repeated in January if you've missed, or even you might even come to a session a second time, just to develop your knowledge that bit further. Again, register via our page, links on your follow-up email. If you do attend 3 out of the 4 topics, plus one of the quiz sessions, then you will earn that digital badge. That will be issued via email, and that will be sent out. Doesn't matter when you qualify for that, that will be sent towards the end of January now. So it gives us a chance to complete all of those sessions. Right, in today's session, quite a short agenda, brief introduction, run through some demonstrations, got quite a few examples for you today, just to try and familiarise you with it. And also, once we've done that, we'll explain a little bit about the additional support and also pick up questions. I'll be trying to pick them up as we run through this session today, but if there's any outstanding, we'll try and pick up as many of those as we can at the end as well. But as I say, keep them coming. So when it comes to correcting journals, it's not just about debits and credits. I think that's probably what people think of when you when you're looking at journals. For some, it probably strikes fear into your heart and think, I just never get debits and credits. But there's loads of other fields as well. So obviously you got things like the reference, the dates, the nominal codes, extra reference, department details, tax codes, anything and everything on there. And it might not just be the debits and credits, you might get values wrong as well. Journals, sometimes they're as simple as a 2-line journal. Other times, well, there could be over 100 lines in that journal. So chances are you might get something wrong. It might even just be things like a typo in the details. So something simple or maybe something a bit more complex. So there's lots to journals, and obviously because of that, and some people panicking because it is debits and credits, and it's called journals, it can tend to get it wrong. It might be as simple as, oh, I forgot to change the date. Got everything else right, but you just overlook the posting date. So it's easy to get things wrong. What we're looking at today is the options you've got. Now, journals can be brought into the software in a number of different ways. You enter it manually, you could import, you've got what we would term automated posting, such as you run a year end. It could be you run a month end, you've got things like prepayment accruals, fixed asset depreciation journals. It might be you've used Sage 50 payroll, that you bring your payroll information across via the nominal link. Again, it will post a series of journals into your accounts. So we're going to look at the options that you've got. So those options, when you think, oh, I've made a mistake, right, how do I go about correcting it? So that's what we're going to look at in today's session. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to share my screen and we're just going to run through loads of demonstrations in today's session. So let me find the right option and we'll get stuck in. Right, so you should see my desktop at that point. Now today I'm using version 32.1 to be precise. I'm using the professional level of the software as well, but for what we're really going to cover today, pretty much the same all round. So we'll start running through a few demos just so you can see sort of differences as well. The first one I'm going to cover, I'm going to quickly pop back to the slide. Find the right option. We're going to quickly run through first of all, the edit and delete option. So if you make a mistake, how can you edit or delete your transactions? And it will vary as well, depending on the type of journal and how it was entered into your software. Now, if you've got the edit and delete option available, which you've had available for journals since version 22, so it makes it nice and easy. And for these, things like manual journals, bank transfers, journals that you import, you have the edit and delete options available. So I'm going to show you what that looks like, because if it's as simple as this, and it can be, then it makes it really simple and quick to amend your journals. So we'll pop back to my screen for a moment. We'll pop into transactions. I'm going to start with this journal here. So I've posted some manual depreciation. So we've got a JD, a journal debit, and it's gone against 0051. And we've got a JC against 8003. Now, for those of you that are really clued up on journals, you might be thinking, oh, hold on, that's the wrong way around. To post depreciation, you should have credited your manual depreciation in the balance sheet area, and you should have debited the 8003 account in your overhead section. That's right. So we've made a mistake. We've got something incorrect. Now, if I highlight the first line, it doesn't matter what line of that journal that I highlight, but if I edit that, it brings up a copy of the journal. And this is where we can see all the details of that journal, and we can make changes if required. Now, you may have picked up on other the other two corrections webinars that we've got what you term critical fields and non-critical fields. Now, the non-critical fields are essentially I suppose what you would term your text-based fields. So things like your reference, your extra reference, your details. If you needed to change those, that's fine. We can do that. So let's just start with that one, amending what you would term a non-critical field. So those text-based fields. Now let's say this is, well, it's picked up the fact that it's just been posted with today's date. Now let's say that should have been posted with the end of November. Actually, we're not picking on the date just yet, sorry, getting carried away there. I'm going to start with the non-critical fields. So we're going to start with the reference as an example. Now let's say I want to put something in there. So we'll say just an abbreviation, depreciation November. So this is a text-based field, what we term a non-critical field. Now, if I save the changes to that one, All it does is, you'll see on the transaction here, it updates the transaction. So that's the only thing that does. That happens at that point when we amend a non-critical field, these text-based fields. So it just updates the original entry. We scroll down to the bottom, nothing is added. So nothing is added to the end of the audit trail or the transactions list. Let's go back to that one. So this manual depreciation. Now, nice and easy to amend a non-critical field. But what if we want to amend a critical field? So in this case, when we edit this journal, we can see that actually we did get the values the wrong way around. We should have credited this first line. We should have debited the second line. So we got the debits and the credits the wrong way around. It's quite a common journal, that one. Now, those of you that have used Sage for many, many, many years, you might think, well, I would have had to reverse that. These days, you don't have to. Because I've got the full details of the journal in front of me, what I can do is I can just zero that one and put the value into the correct column, so in the credit column, and I'll repeat that for the second line. So I've just switched the debits and the credits around on that one. Makes it nice and easy. And this time when I save it, because the values, things like values, dates, nominal codes, the classed as what you would term critical fields. So I've amended the values essentially. I've switched the debits and credits around. Now if I save that one, and what we'll see is the original journal, so transaction 55 and 56, they're now shown as cancelled. So these two, 55 and 56, they appear in red. Now these red transactions do not impact on my accounts at that point. They have no impact at all. And what's happened, because we've amended that critical field, is if we go right down to the bottom now, what we've got is we've got a new journal that's being posted. So essentially the replacement journal for the one that we had, it's now got the correct details. So the journal credit is posted against 0051. The journal debit is posted against 8003. Now, still got the wrong date in. I'm going to change that as well. I could have amended that at the same time. So I'm just going to highlight one line of this journal. We'll click into edit at the top. I'm just going to quickly change the date. So I'm going to put that back to the end of November. That's the only change I'm going to make. I'll save it. And again, what you can see is at the bottom, the new journal that had been posted, that's now in red. So again, it has no impact on my accounts at that point. It's there for audit purposes. Just in case you're looking at a report and thought, well, where's transaction 64 and 65 gone? They've been replaced. It gives you a reference. What the new reference is, 66 and 67. If I scroll down, you can see the new journal at the bottom here. So 66, 67. It's got the new date in there. If you ever want to know what's changed, just be a case of really comparing the two lines. So it can make it very easy to amend that journal. Now, let's say we just wanted to scrap it completely. So we made a mess of it, or maybe we've entered that twice. We got distracted. Loads of people in the office. We've posted the journal. We get a bit distracted. We come back to pick up where we think we left off, and we post it again. So actually, we've duplicated that. So we do have a delete option as well. So again, highlighting. We'll just highlight this journal at the bottom. We might as well stick with that one. If we highlight this one, rather than edit it this time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete it. I can't make any amends on this page, but I've got the delete option at the bottom. So it shows me all parts of this journal, essentially that grouped journal. So I click delete. Do you wish to delete this journal entry? Yes. Disappears. And rather than being cancelled, this one says deleted GSC, deleted JD. So again, makes it really easy to do that. So if you've got the edit and delete options available to you, use them. So much easier than what you used to have in the past where you would have had to do it manually. Now, you've always got the option to reverse a journal manually. It's always available to you. If you want to leave your journal with the error intact, sorry, if you want to leave that journal intact, you can just reverse it manually. So it'd just be a case of you doing another journal. Now, a quick question from Virginia there. Virginia's just asking, why does Sage cancel, then repost the entry as a new entry instead of allowing the changes to be made? So again, it comes back to, I suppose, audit purposes. If you had just picking on this entry here, this 55, which was essentially, it was a JD, essentially, it's flagged as cancelled. If you were looking at a report with that on there, and you go back and all of a sudden that transaction is a different value or different date, it's going to undermine I suppose, the trust in those figures. So which is why it cancels it. But you've got that reference, 64. It says CTRAN 64, so we go down to 64. You can see that one. 64 is now saying, because we obviously amended the date of that one as well, it cancels it, it posts another journal. Now, if it's a big journal, so let's say it's a 50-line journal, it would do exactly the same. It just means you would have loads of red on there. You can hide the red transactions if you want to. Come back to that one a little bit later on. So if it's a manual journal that you've posted, nice and easy. I've got some other examples. You do a bank transfer, something that Abby would have picked up on. So I've got a bank transfer here, which is posted within bank accounts. Use the bank transfer option, edit it, brings up the detail of that journal. And again, I could make changes to it. Save it, and you'd be in the same position. If you've imported journals, so here I've got some salary journals that I've imported. So we've imported those as via the audit trail transactions import. Again, if I edit that, brings up the full detail, and I can make whatever amends I want. So if I needed to, again, amend detail, well, make any changes really. Maybe I've brought that in and maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe I've brought it in, actually I've used the wrong date. Maybe I want that to be the 31st. So I'll change that date, save the changes. Again, you'll see that all flagged as being cancelled. So the original journal is cancelled, and it will post a correcting journal with the correct details onto the end with the correct date that I've requested. So generally speaking, normal journals in your software, you'll be able to edit or delete them. Again, that makes it really simple. Remember, if you're amending a non-critical field, it will just update your transaction. You'll not see these red transactions being posted. The original transaction will still be intact. Whereas if you amend a critical field, dates, nominal codes, values, then you are going to see the original transaction being cancelled and a new one posted to the end. Now, there are instances where you'll not be able to do that. So I've got some examples. I'm just going to pop back to the slides just for a moment. So sometimes when you go to edit a journal, you'll not be in the same position. It won't bring up the full details of that journal. You'll not be able to edit it or delete it in the same way. And you'll have similar to as if you were editing an individual transaction. So you get this limited sort of screen pop up. Now there's a few, I've listed a few examples. So things like year-end postings, you'll not be able to just simply go in and amend all of those, edit all of those journals or delete them. If you were on the professional level of the software, prepayments, accruals, posted as part of the month end. Similar for depreciation for the fixed assets register. You'll not be able to just go in and amend those. If you use Sage 50 Payroll, you post the nominal link to bring that across. Again, you won't be able to go in and just delete or amend those journals. What you will be able to do is amend those, again, those non-critical fields. They will be available to you, so those text-based fields. So again, let's have a look at some of those, just so you can see what that looks like in the software. Right, got some examples. So first of all, I've got some year-end postings. Let's find those on my list there. So I know it's about transaction 37. Where are we? Gone too far there. There we got some ledger year-end postings. It's not a massive list because it's quite a small set of data I'm using today. But a ledger year-end posting. So when you run year-end, some journals are posted to clear your year-end balances down. Now, if I try and highlight one of those lines, so all of these journals would have been posted at the same time. So I click edit. I do get a message because it's dated in the previous financial year, with it being a year-end journal. That's fine. But this is what I'll get. I get this limited edit screen. So I can change the reference. I can change the description. But you can see I can't change the date. I can't change the value. So those critical fields are grayed out. Even if I highlight what we term the item line and edit, again, you'll see I can amend the details, but I can't change anything else. I can't change things like the tax code. I can't change values in here. I can't change the department. Just put my initials in there just so you can see the change. But I can amend those what we term those non-critical fields. So if I save that, post a change, and you'll see it updates it on the list there. Again, it doesn't need to post a series of transactions in red, doesn't post additional journals. It's a non-critical field that I've just amended there. So you are restricted when it comes to things like ledger year-end postings, prepayments and accruals, where they're posted automatically via the software. So I've got one here. We've got these 4 lines. So again, if I try and edit that one, it brings up this limited edit screen. So I'm back in the same position. Similarly, if I highlight that and I try to delete it, it'll bring up the same screen. You'll see the delete option is grayed out. So I'll just close that. If you went to opening balances as well, you'd be in the same position. So I've got one on here. Let's find it. There it is. So if I highlight an opening balance where we posted an opening balance against account 1200, it will post that as a journal. If we try and edit it, again, I've got this limited edit screen. Now, if you are in a position where you've got some journals like that, what options do you have when you're restricted? So say you've brought something in. So this journal here, which is dated 31st of the 10th, we've got some basic depreciation postings that are being done via the software. What if I want to delete that? What options have I got? Now I can't just highlight it and click delete because it doesn't let me. This is where the delete option's grayed out. So what options have you got? Well, there's 2. Ideally, you could restore if you've just done it. Bear in mind, if you do restore, it takes you back to that point in time. So anything you've done since that backup was taken, you've got to redo. You would have to re-input it. But it means it would be prior to these transactions being posted. So it's one way of almost like removing it without having to make any postings. The other option would be to manually reverse it. Now, when it comes to manually reversing journals, again, you've got another 2 options. And it really depends exactly what the problem is that you've you need to correct. Now, if I just pop back to the slides for a moment. So just as an example, if we had a journal where, let's say, we did have the debits and credits the wrong way around, to post a reversing journal, all you would do is you would post the same details, but you just switch the debits and credits. Again, that's just an example of a 2-line journal, but with journals, they can be really lengthy. Now that would be quite quick to correct, just to add that in manually. So you'd need to make sure you use the same date so that the journal falls in the same period. It reverses it correctly. Same nominal codes, tax codes, but you would just switch the debits and credits for each line of that journal. And it would mean that for every debit you've got a credit which is in the same period, so it's going to cancel it out. So nice and straightforward, but you've got to do that manually. But there is another option. The other option is to use the journal reversal option. Now, if you've never used this before, it's a fab little option, this one. If you struggle with journals, why dig a bigger hole? This is really quick. I'm going to show you how to use it now. So the idea of this is you would click the option, and it enables you to find the relevant journals. So a little bit of criteria, you could put a date range in or transaction number range. Normally easiest just to put the date in. It will find the journals posted on that date, and just a case of you then selecting the ones that you want to reverse. So you would highlight those transactions, say, right, reverse this. It does it for you. Now, this has been available in all levels of the software since 2014, so everyone on this call today should have this available. I don't expect anyone to be on a version that's 24 or prior to 2014. Someone's probably got to raise their hand now and say, well, actually I am. Well, you shouldn't be. Supported versions a little bit later on than that. Right, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this option, show you how we can use it to manually reverse some journals. So back to my screen, we'll find a nice big one. So if I go right to the top, and what I'm going to do is this one here. So now this is a series of journals that were posted via the nominal link from Sage 50 payroll across to Sage 50 accounts. So it's a one where if we highlight a line of the journal, we try to delete it, and it says, essentially it says you can't do this. It's one of the journals where you can't just delete or edit it. Just one of those types. So I don't want to have to do it manually because it's from transaction 1 all the way down to, in this case, 18. I could be on a while posting that one, particularly at the speed that I type at. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a note of that date. And also it's the transaction numbers, so 1 to 18 in this instance. I want to delete that. I want to reverse it. Maybe I've done it twice in error. So I want to get rid of them. All I would do, make a note of the date, probably the easiest option. Transaction numbers would help as well. We go to nominal codes. And rather than me going to journal entry and manually entering all that information in there to reverse it and then saving it, what I can do is I can just click journal reversal. Now, if you don't have this option available to you, it's one of 2 reasons. 3, if you are that person that is on a really old version. The reasons you wouldn't have access to this, one is your access levels, and the other is if maybe you've hidden it for some reason. So you've right-clicked on your toolbar at some points, and on there you've had journal reversal, and for whatever reason you've switched it off. Good little tip that in case you find loads of options at the top and you think, I just don't use those. They're just cluttering up my toolbar at the top. Get rid of them, hide them. But it does mean that you might be looking for something that's not there. So if it's not there, just right click. It'll give you a list of potentially the options that you should have. And I'll just switch that back on. So it's this option here. So anyway, I click Journal Reversal. It does prompt me to print the Daybook Nominal Ledger report and also to take a backup of my data. I'll always prompt you to take a backup if you can. I'm going to skip past that, just a dummy set of data that I'm using. So I'm just going to click OK. And this is the criteria. Now, all I'm going to change, and what I'd normally recommend, is that you just change the date only. So if I pop in the 30th of the 4th, 2025, that was the date of that nominal link postings. So I'll just OK that. And it will bring up a list of those journals. Now, you might have more than one set of journals posted on that date, so do be careful. But in my case, it just lists transaction 1 to 18. So what I can do is I can click swap to say, right, all of those journals 1 to 18, I want to get rid of. If you've got more than one journal, sort of one set of journals on there, it might be that you go down and you just select yours. But in my case, it's all of them, 1 to 18, so I can click swap, highlights everything. You can see I've got the balance at the bottom of 0, both the debits and the credits of the selected transactions, they're equal. And all I do at that point, I click reverse. So it gives me a list of the journals that are about to be posted to reverse that. And all I do at that point is I click save. That's it done. Now, when you manually reverse journals, the original transactions will still be there. Nothing changes. So these are still active journals. All I've done is I've reversed them by posting or using the option to post an additional journal rather than me do it manually. So those original journals, 1 to 18, they're still intact. If I scroll down to the bottom of my list, you'll see I've got some reversal transactions. So these are the ones that are being posted automatically. So transaction 75, right at the bottom there, down to 92. So these are being posted automatically for me. Again, you've got a little bit of a reference on there, so you've got that bit of traceability. So this is the transaction here. It's reversing the effect of transaction number 1. And you've got similar throughout. So that saves me having to go and do a manual journal and do 18 lines in this instance. Honestly, I would hate to think how long that's going to take me. You probably make notes or print reports just so you can manually key that in. This option, journal reversal, makes it so much easier. So do use that, but again, do take that backup beforehand. So the one that pops up as you click the option. Now, just going back to Virginia's question earlier and her comments about having transactions in red, it can make the transaction list look very messy. Now, you'll have probably seen it on other of some of our other sessions as well. When you go into settings and company preferences, pop in my password again. On the parameters tab, you've got this option here, exclude deleted transactions. It should be switched on by default, that one. Now, by having that ticked, what it would mean is if you go into a customer record, a supplier record, nominal bank, when you're looking at the activity, any transactions are essentially flagged as deleted. So the ones that appear in red, they will be hidden. That's what that option does. So just to confirm where that was, it was settings, company preferences. Might be something that you want to check on yours at some point. And then on the parameters tab, it's this option here, exclude deleted transactions. Make sure it's ticked. You don't want activity windows with loads of transactions in red appearing and confusing you. So get them hidden. Now, what it doesn't do is it does not hide those transactions from your transactions list when they're appearing in red. Now, the only way I can get rid of these transactions appearing in red from the likes of my transactions list is to apply a filter. So if I go into filter and we do where, and we do in the T, there is a transaction deleted flag. We do a condition and we'll say is equal to. Now, I'm going to start with yes. So where transaction deleted flag is equal to yes. If I click apply, you'll see what we've got is we've got the transactions that essentially the ones that are appearing in red. So that's all we can see at that point. If we go back to filter and we change that, so we'll say it is not equal to yes, or we could do is equal to no, and apply that. We're back where it'll filter out most of those red ones. So those are now hidden from my list. Now the manual reversal ones, remember those are still active transactions. So they're still listed, they still impact on my accounts, but the ones in red, they're now hidden from that list. So Virginia, you set up that filter and your accounts are going to look a lot tidier. So two options, settings, company preferences, parameters, tick the little box, exclude deleted transactions. And then second, pop into your transactions list, into filter. And you want something along the lines of where transaction deleted flag is not equal to yes, or we can do is equal to no. Again, just apply it, and I've got the same result. You look mint, look like you never make any errors whatsoever. Right, any additional questions at all? If you've got any questions, quickly pop them into the questions panel. I think we're just about up to date, up to speed with the questions and the answers. So we'll pop your questions in. If you've got any, just click that little speech bubble icon with containing the question, the little speech bubble containing the question mark. Give it a click, and then you'll be able to start typing in that bottom box. Remember to click send. If anyone wants a copy of today's slides, those are available to download as well. Just while we're waiting for those questions coming through, just to provide you with some helpful links. So quite a bit of information, a help center, how to correct a journal, how to manually reverse a journal, and just some general information as well, how to post a nominal journal. So if you're fairly new to accounts still, you tend to find that Sage 50 accounts, you tend to avoid journals as much as you can. So there's things in there, there's wizards to help you, there are things like bank transfer wizard. It's nice, easy, which account you want to transfer the money from and to. It will essentially post a journal in the background without asking you about debits and credits. So again, that's a good little option. Lynn, you mentioned there, if a journal has a tax element, how do you enter that? Well, if you've got a journal that has a tax element, it needs to be broken down. You tend to find the majority of journals that you will post will be classed as being non-VATable, so don't need to impact on your VAT return. It's normally for transferring balances between nominal codes. But if you've got a journal that you need to post and there is a tax element to it, it needs to be posted as a separate line. So if I just go to a journal, let's say I was doing a bank payment, equivalent of a bank payment. I'll just put payment in there. So we're choosing the bank account. We want it to credit the bank account, say the money's gone out. So let's say it was £120 in total. Now, if we're doing that as a journal, what we need to show is, let's say the expense nominal code, we'll just say 5,000. I'll just copy that down as well. And I would do the net element against the relevant nominal code, the expense nominal code. I would need to use the relevant tax code for that one as well to say, right, this is a VAT element. So this is a VATable transaction that I need to be picked up on the that I need to be picked up on a VAT return at some point. The tax element itself, I need to post as a separate line. I would do that as 20. And again, because I would want that to be picked on my VAT return, I'm going to choose the appropriate, try that one again. I need to choose the appropriate tax code for it. So that's what that journal would look like. Obviously, I need to make sure I change the date, etc. as well. But that's if you do have a VAT element of that, that's how you're going to be breaking that down. But again, it would explain more about that in our Help Centre articles if necessary. But that's sort of, I suppose, basic bookkeeping, that one, the nature of doing journals. I hope that makes sense. So use those Help Centre links. That information is very easy to find. Just head along to sage.co.uk/help. You need to choose your software, and then from there you can start searching for whatever it is you need support with. Now, webinar-wise, there's loads of webinars available. We've got loads coming up. Our timetable currently runs up to the end of January now. And remember, we are repeating these sessions throughout January as well for the corrections series. Loads of other sessions in there, whether it's you want advice on bank feeds or running your year end, or you want to find out more about co-pilots, then do check that out. The link is included on your follow-up email. Excuse me. The link's included on your follow-up email, so do check that and get yourself registered for some of those sessions. Now, just about brings us to the end of the session. Got a couple of outstanding questions. I'll try and pick some of those up in just a moment, but let me quickly thank you for attending. Hope you've enjoyed it, found it useful. There will be a little survey pop-up. Should take you about a minute to complete that. If you can't do that, that's all we ask at the end of the webinar. If you take a minute to complete that survey, let us know your thoughts. If you've got any ideas, etc., that you'd like to share with us, topics you'd like to see covered going forward, ideas about how we can improve webinars, let us know. So if you can take that minute, that'd be greatly appreciated. And your follow-up email will be with you in round about an hour's time. Quick question from Simon. Can you explain the nominal link you mentioned from the Sage Wages module? So what the nominal link is, and we do have a webinar recording on this one, Simon. So have a look at that. It'll show you in a lot more detail. So rather than you post a manual journal for your salary information, so where some salary journals can be very lengthy. So 50 lines, 100 lines, not unheard of, that one, depending on the breakdown that you need. So if you're using Sage 50 Payroll, as part of that payroll processing routine, you can say, right, you can set up what you term the nominal link. Now that nominal link is essentially a bridge, it sort of almost like bridges the gap between your Sage 50 Payroll software and Sage 50 accounts. So as part of that payroll processing routine, once you've updated your payroll, you can say, right, I now want to post that nominal link, and it'll transfer that information across to your accounts in the form of a journal, so that you don't need to sit there keying that in. But if you want to find out more, do have a look at our recordings page. You'll find the nominal link on there, both either on the accounts page or the payroll page. You'll find the recording listed, and that will go into a lot more detail about how you go and set that up within Sage 50 Payroll, and also what the process looks like. Joanne, you mentioned there, if you've got an old credit on a supplier that you want to get rid of, how would you post a journal to get rid of this balance? You wouldn't. You wouldn't do that via a journal. If it's a credit balance, then the way that you would essentially write that off would be by entering an invoice. If it's a balance, where you owe a certain amount to a supplier, then a credit posted to that account would essentially write that off. You'll find more information about writing off transactions in our help centre, because there are obviously VAT implications on that as well. Some of that will be dependent on your VAT scheme, but you'll find more information in the help centre on writing off customer and supplier balances. Right, questions just about dried up, so we'll end the webinar just at that point. Again, if you can take a minute to complete that survey, that should pop as you leave, be greatly appreciated. We love reading those comments, see what your thoughts are, so if you can do that. And watch out for your follow-up email, get yourself registered for some of those upcoming sessions, get yourself registered for the ones in January as well, get yourself off to a positive start in the new year, and I hope to see you on some of them very, very soon. Many thanks, and hopefully we'll see you again.